All right, breaking news, guys. In case you haven't heard, there was a second assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump's life, yet again, earlier today at his golf course in Florida. And this comes less than 60 days. I kid you not. It has not even been 2 months since his first assassination attempt. So you have to ask yourself, at what point does this stop? And in my opinion, it doesn't stop until they get him. So, and it just blows me away that he has not hired his own private extra security staff on top of the Secret Service staff that is watching over him, because apparently there's still not enough agents protecting him. And this is probably one of the most hated men on the planet right now. And he only has a handful of Secret Service agents protecting him. So something is a little off here, right? And again, it's always a candidate. If you look back in history, it's always a candidate that is anti-establishment. It's always a candidate that doesn't want to play ball, right? Doesn't want to go along to get along, right? He wants to go against the grain. He wants to do something that he believes in. And I mean, as much as they say a lot of negative things about Trump, I really do believe that he loves his country, and he has good intentions for the most part, right? He's just not a career politician like most of these corrupt politicians out there who got rich in politics. Basically, like your Nancy Pelosi's or your, Chuck Schumer's, or, or your Joe Biden's or Kamala Harris's, or, even on the right, you have a number of career politicians there as well who just got rich in politics, selling favors, selling you out, selling out the American public and getting rich off of that. Like, how do you enter office into politics, becoming this government employee essentially, and then making up to like $100 million, like what Nancy Pelosi's worth? How do you get to that just doing politics? So something's fishy there. But Donald Trump is probably one of the few politicians that did not make his money in politics. He made his money in business, and I respect that. And I want to see more candidates like that in the future. Again, whether you love him or hate him, that's your prerogative. I'm an independent, so I really want more anti-establishment candidates who are just going to do what's best for the people and not try to propagandize people or, spin this narrative or gaslight the American public and all this. But not to get off track, guys. Yes, there was a second attempt on Donald Trump's life earlier today. And some things about this you have to ask yourself. It's like, okay, so this would-be shooter apparently had his GoPro with him, put it on the fence, because I guess he wanted to film himself doing this. And he puts his rifle through the fence, and apparently the Secret Service agent must have just laser perfect, Superman type vision to see this rifle sticking out of some fence from God knows how far away this fence was, and goes, "Oh my God, let me get this guy," and then fires back at this guy, because apparently he fired off some shots, and then so the Secret Service agent fires back, but the guy's still alive. Not the Secret Service agent. He's still alive too, but I'm talking about the assassin. He's still alive. So some questions here. Like, okay, as a Secret Service agent, shouldn't you be a pretty good shot, right? I mean, one shot, pow, done. Why are you firing all these rounds and he's still alive? He's not even wounded. The guy was able to flee the scene and get in his friggin' Nissan SUV and take off. And you know who caught him? It wasn't the Secret Service. It wasn't even really the cops. It was this license plate reader that caught him and then sent a message to the police, who went and intercepted him. So, yeah, there are a lot of holes in this story, man. But yeah, it's just getting to the point where it's starting to get a little suspicious. It's starting to get pretty obvious what's going on here. That they do not want this guy to be president. They do not want this guy waking people up. They do not want this guy having any power. they're so threatened by him and what he has to say. I mean, they're just, I guarantee, probably by midweek, this story is going to be buried. Okay, the story is going to be buried in the media. They're going to move on and start talking about something else, right? Because it's Trump. However, if this was, say, Biden or Kamala and somebody, attempted to assassinate them, oh my God, you would never hear the end of this. Just like you never hear the end of January 6th, right? Never hear the end of it. Like as Nancy Pelosi says, it was one of the darkest days in our history, even worse than 9/11. Or I think it was one of her cohorts that said that. I don't know if she said that specifically, but I've heard other people on the left say things like that, right? People who have voices, and it's just really, really an irresponsible thing to say because only one person really died on January 6th, right? It was the conservative woman who entered the building, and then comparing that to like 9/11, where thousands of people were killed, it's not cool. All right, it's not a good look. I understand you want to play politics here, but it's not a good look. Regardless, there was a second assassination on Trump's life. And you know what? When I covered this video on his first assassination, just less than 60 days ago, I said there's going to be a second attempt. Watch. And here we are, less than 2 months later, a second attempt. And you know what? Hear me now. I'm telling you, there will be a third attempt, right? They are not going to stop until they get this guy, right? And obviously, they're saying right now the Secret Service fired, they fired back at him. I mean, this could all just be a ploy. I mean, use your head, guys. This could all just be some sort of setup to set up the actual assassination. As I say, 3 times the charm, right? If he gets actually assassinated, they could be like, well, we tried to protect him that second time. We fired back, and we can't always be there for him. And then the third time they got him, right? And then, of course, like the media, the Matrix media, right? The mainstream media, who really does nothing but radicalize lunatics like this, just really encourage and drum up angry people like this to actually like do something stupid, like trying to assassinate a presidential candidate, former president at that. The media, who radicalizes these lunatics, basically turns around and blames Trump. They're like, well, if he didn't have such terrible rhetoric, no, you're radicalizing these people. I mean, I'm surprised he hasn't sued the media. So there'll probably be a third attempt. Sadly, I mean, it's unfortunate, but again, I don't know why he doesn't get his own security staff on top of the Secret Service, because you can't depend on the president, I mean, the current administration, who really doesn't like him, to supply him with even more. Right? I mean, he should have double, triple, quadruple the amount of Secret Service agents than any other former president out there because of who he is and just how brainwashed people are to just do stuff like this. Because if you look at the assassin, the guy who tried to assassinate him, his name, according to media sources, is Ryan Routh. This dude is, I mean, he kind of fits the bill of somebody who would do something like this. And yeah, apparently he's still alive. They didn't kill him. I mean, yeah, this is just, oh my gosh, dude. I just want you guys to understand when I say establishment, right? Because I mean, I have a lot of followers and I have a lot of friends that, people I've known for a long time. And when they post things that, and I understand, right? Everybody's like trying to choose a side. I'm on Trump or team Kamala. But you have to understand, and I'm an independent. I say this as an independent. I always have to mention that. I will say the left has been completely hijacked by the establishment. The right, yes, to a certain degree, but there are still some good people on the right. On the left, maybe there are a small handful, right? But I'm just talking about in general. In general, the left has been hijacked by the establishment, right? By the Matrix. And so when I see people that that I have a lot of respect for, post things like, oh my God, Kamala, such a beautiful speech. She really cares about this country. She really believes in her, the things she's going to do for people. It's like, dude, this chick has been VP for 3.5 years. She was going to do something. Why hasn't she done it yet? Right? Which Trump only pressed her on her once during the debate. I mean, she's a career politician like the rest of these puppets, right? They're career. I don't want any more career politicians. I don't care what side they're on. Again, left and right. I don't care what side they're on. But the left has been hijacked by the establishment, and I'd say probably maybe close to half of the right. But again, there's still the other half that is pretty anti-establishment, right? That's becoming the theme of the right these days, is like being anti-establishment. And the theme of the left really is pro-government. Yeah, listen to the government. Take your cues from them. And, we're all a collective and we're all in this together and together stronger and all this hashtag nonsense. It's like, no, we're human beings. We're individuals. We have our own unique DNA, our own individual values, our own individual dreams, hopes, goals, aspirations. I don't want to be a part of your collective, man. And I don't want you to be part of my collective. I want you to be your own individual self. I want me to be my own individual self. I don't want to be part of this group nonsense where we have hive mind and we're just following these puppet politicians blindly, right? And so, yeah, and it's just insane to me that, it's just, again, as somebody who's an independent, I look at both sides and I'm like, where do I see the most people who are lacking the critical thinking skills, who are lacking just nuance and, yeah, critical, being able to just think independently? It's mostly on the left, right? Because I hear them just repeating rhetoric that they hear from the mainstream news, right? When you ask them, like, oh, what are Kamala's accomplishments? Why are you voting for her? Yeah, I watched the news. She's a good person. It's like, I don't believe she's a good person. I believe she's one of the biggest phonies ever. She just comes across to me as fake, 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 fake. I don't care if she was left or right. Even even what's her name, Nikki Haley, who was on the right. She came across as fake, just as fake to me, and she's on the right. Fake, fake, fake. I don't like fake politicians. I don't like these puppets, these establishment puppets that are just gonna spread propaganda and lies and brainwashing. I don't want that. I want people being able to think for themselves, to use critical thought, to, go out there, and not wear a mask in 100-degree heat, sitting in your car alone. I mean, just common sense. But regardless, President Trump was the target of a second assassination, unfortunately. And, it just, I really believe that they're going to try to do it again. And, it's kind of scary, man. Scary times, because at least back in the day, right? I mean, even back in like the 2010s, I think people were still able to think for themselves, right? Or definitely the early and mid 2000s. That was probably the last wave of people just getting along and thinking for themselves. Whereas now there's just propaganda everywhere. And as I always teach you guys, if I had a son, if you have a son, I mean, the number one lesson I would teach my own child is to think for yourself, right? Do not follow the crowd. Definitely don't follow the media. Think for yourself, man. I just got this big argument with a childhood friend of mine about the moon landing, which I'm not even gonna get into, right? The moon. He totally believes we went to the moon, and I just ask questions, right? I don't say yay or nay. I try to keep an open mind. I'm like, hey, sell me on the reasons why you think we went to the moon, and then the people who think it's all a hoax, that we never went, tell me why you think that it's a hoax. Right? And I will tell you, the people who think it's a hoax have a lot more credibility right now, because people who, like my buddy, who thinks like we went there, I'm like, why? So we went there with 1969 technology that we can no longer recreate, because we no longer have the technology to do what we did 50 years ago, when basically those computers back then had 1/10 1,000th of the computing power that we have in our cell phones today. So that thing's able to go to the moon 240,000 miles and broadcast flawlessly from the moon, get past the Van Allen radiation belts, no problem. But we can't do that today, but we're able to do it in 1969. Not only that, but we lost all the videotapes and all the video footage. Practically, I think it was like 700 hours, like some major footage, suddenly lost from NASA from 1969. So we can't put all the pieces together. Or the fact that the first astronaut, was it Neil Armstrong, to walk on the moon. He gave some diplomat, some other country, or I think it was a museum, moon rock, said, "Oh, I picked this up from the moon, from you, from me to you. I picked this up on the moon. This is from the moon." And then they tested it. Turned out to be petrified wood. It was fake. Okay, why would this guy ruin his credibility by giving away fake moon rocks? And on top of that, there's just so many questions, man. I'm like, yeah, dude. I mean, there's just so much. Yeah. If you ever watch the interview of those guys, by the way, getting back from the moon and their very first interview, these guys do not look like dudes who just came from, coming from the moon, like, oh my God, we did it. Yes, first one's on the moon. No, they look scared to death, right? They look like they're at their funeral or something. You should watch it, right? You ask yourself, these guys look like they really went to the moon, or they look pretty nervous, like they're trying to get away with something. Not only that, but I believe like Neil Armstrong refused to give any interviews after that. I mean, this is the first guy to walk on the moon. Doesn't want to do interviews? That's weird. Why? I wonder. Anyway, I'm going into a whole different tangent right now, but I'm just saying this is all part of the establishment nonsense that I cannot stand. I don't like being propagandized too. Let me make my decision, by the way. Like, if I want to believe this, let me decide if I want to believe it. Why are you trying to force this down my throat? Like, men can have babies, or you don't know, you can't define what a woman is, or climate change, or we landed on the moon, or all this stuff. It's like they're constantly trying to force down your throat. If you watch any video on YouTube, just whether it's about anything, the moon landing, JFK assassination, anything that the Matrix wants you to believe, there's always if you click on any of those videos, there's always going to be a little icon at the bottom of that YouTube video from Wikipedia. Yeah, very trusted Wikipedia, right? Wikipedia saying, oh, like JFK, for example, right? I mean, the moon landing, same thing. If you click on, moon landing hoax, all you're going to see are videos proclaiming that we went to the moon, and then the little Wikipedia article at the bottom saying, click on this link to find out why how we were able to get to the moon proudly. Yay, yay. Or the JFK assassination. Oh, Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone gunman. So stop with all the conspiracies, even though there's a lot of questions about that too. I mean, the whole magic bullet theory that he fired, this like average rifleman fired 3 shots at JFK and was able to assassinate him from the Texas Book Depository. And, that rifle I think it takes like 2.6 seconds to reload each cartridge, and he's able to fire them. I mean, the shots were firing off basically right on top of each other. I mean, this guy must have been an excellent marksman, but wait, he was an average marksman, right? And then the magic bullet theory, that one bullet that he fired like went through like both JFK and Connolly, the guy sitting in front of him. The same bullet like went through JFK, zigzagged, went into Connolly, went through took like 3 U-turns, and then landed in pristine condition on his lap at Parkland Memorial Hospital. It's like, dude, at what point do you just go to yourself, okay, my BS detector is just through the roof on this, right? My BS detector is like, right there. Just like I had this big debate with my childhood friend about the moon landing and the fact that Neil Armstrong was giving away fake moon rocks that he claimed were from the moon. The fact he doesn't do interviews, the fact that spaceship has scotch tape on it, the fact that they were broadcasting from 240,000 miles away with 1969 technology, there's just so much, man. There's just a lot of very suspicious stuff going on where you just have your BS detector just starts to go up, right? Your BS detector starts to go ding, 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 ding. This smells like horse crap to me. Right? I'm not stupid. Come on, man. At what point did you wake up and stop playing mental gymnastics and go, okay, maybe they're just lying to me? Why do they want to shove this down in my throat and force me to believe this lie so badly? Why do they care if I believe it or not? Why do they want everybody to go along with this, as ludicrous as it is? I mean, and it's a lot of things that the establishment pushes are really unbelievable lies if you think about it. I mean, if you really use critical thought, you're like, this just smells like horse manure, man. It smells like a bunch of jive. But people buy it. People believe it because they're told to. And that's what scares me about what's going on today, is like people cannot see through the lies of the Matrix, right? Including people I've known for a long time that I had a lot of respect for. It's sad, man. It's sad. You got to be able to think for yourself. So, yeah. And You know, and it comes with anything, even things I don't really know that much about, like even the climate change thing. I have a lot of followers who are like, no, trust me, climate change thing, and it's serious and blah blah blah. But again, even with that, I'm not saying I know it, right or wrong, but I'm just saying like, I remember when they were saying the world was going to end in like 2012, and then AOC said the world was going to end by 2018. I mean, a lot of these people were like, oh, the world's going to end now in 7 years. Why is there this constant fear mongering? Why is there this constant paranoia that they want you to stay in? Why can't you just like chill out, man? Lighten up, right? I mean, it's just like they're constantly feeding you this paranoia and this fear. And not only that, I'm like, how come whether it's going to the moon, you know, sending rockets into space, climate change, COVID, why does it always include taking away more of our freedoms and, you know, taking away more of our money? How come that always has to be a factor in this, right? It's like, how come this always includes taking away our freedoms and taking away more of our money? You know, I mean, at what point do you go, okay, something's fishy here. Something just isn't right, right? But you're taught to not think. You're taught not to think for yourself. You're taught to just be an NPC and just go along, man. Go along, or you'll be shamed. You'll be called a conspiracy theorist. You'll be ostracized and all this. No. Right? So yeah, I mean, at some point, again, your BS detector has to go up. So with this Trump assassination, I keep getting off track on. At what point do you go, okay, you just start to ask yourself, whether you like him or not, whether you love Trump or hate Trump, you have to ask yourself, why are they so threatened by this guy? Why are people so brainwashed by this guy? Why, you know, like the media, why have they brainwashed so many people to hate this guy? Why do they want to shut him up so badly? Why are they trying to demonize him so much, you know? And if you look beyond Trump, I mean, just any anti-established candidate in history, any anti-establishment president in history that was a threat to the establishment, whether it's Trump, JFK, Abraham Lincoln, you look at these guys and what do they all have in common? They didn't want to play ball, right? Look at Lincoln. He wanted to free slaves. That was unheard of at that time, right? He wanted free slaves, you know, and the left was like, no, we want to keep our slaves. It's true, right? The left were slave owners. He wanted to keep those slaves. But, you know, they want to keep those slaves, I should say. But Lincoln wanted to free them. So what did they do? Assassinate him, right? Of course, it's, you know, of course, it's the lone gunman, right? Just some crazed assassin. Yeah, there's always something. Always something. Reagan tried to assassinate Reagan, right? And, you know, to a certain degree, he was anti-establishment. Even though he was more of a politician, he came from Hollywood, he was kind of an actor and all that. So, well, kind of an actor. He was an actor. But in any case, guys, yeah, if I were Trump, I would definitely get, you know, some more protection, some more security around you, more trusted security. I would not trust the Secret Service alone. You don't know, you know, which one of those people hate your guts. One of those people that will double cross you, right? You should have your own staff, and he has the money to do it, so he should do that, because sadly, I think they're just going to keep going on this. Even if he becomes president again, I think they're just going to keep going on this. You know, the only way this will stop is if he loses, and then he just goes away, just disappears. Nobody's going to care anymore, right? I don't think anybody will care, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. And I believe he's just going to run this to the end. I think he's fearless. I mean, the guy really never had to enter politics. I mean, he had a great life, right? He really ruined his life kind of by becoming president. But he had a great life before this. Everybody loved him. He was on The Apprentice. You're fired. I mean, I even auditioned for The Apprentice at one point back in the very early 2000s, believe it or not. How ironic is that, right? Because I studied business in school, and then I was, you know, I was starting my own businesses back then, and I was always kind of an entrepreneur. Obviously, right now I have a successful business, and so, but I never got on the show. But I always thought, like, wow, that would have been cool, to be on the show, meet Trump and all this. But now everybody hates him because he's that guy, right? He's no longer the "you're fired" guy. Now he's, you know, he's the guy spewing all of this all of this rhetoric that that pisses off half of the country, right? But you know, in my opinion, he's toned it down quite a bit in the last few years. He's really toned it down to the point where I think it's hurting him, you know. And you know, when he goes into these debates, I think he's toned it down a little too much. I think he needs to go back to who he is if he wants to give himself a chance to win, because now he is starting to kind of sound like a politician, which I don't like, right? I like people who are just able to just talk from their heart, talk from their gut. I don't like people reading teleprompters and reading scripts, and you know, like a lot of these corrupt career politicians, they just read scripts and read teleprompters, right? And then you hear them without their teleprompters and without their scripts. They're just bumbling fools, right? They're just bumbling fools. So so yeah, I mean, you don't need a teleprompter or a script when you're telling the truth and you're speaking from your heart. Even in these videos that I do, I'm not looking at a teleprompter. I don't have a script. I don't even have an outline. I just talk from my heart, and I'm able to just go. Look, now we're almost at you know, over 25 minutes. You know, I didn't blink a single time, man. I didn't, like, you know, hesitate a single time. I'm just able to go, and I can keep going because I believe in what I'm saying. But when you don't, you need the teleprompter, you need the script, you need the outline, you need, you know, the earpiece, you need people telling you what to say, what to do, because you don't know what you believe, because you're a puppet. And that's the last type of person that you want to be your leader. And if that person happens to be your leader, don't listen to them. They should be able to speak from their heart, from their gut, and anybody who wants to shut them down or quiet them, I mean, use your head, right? Why would you ever need to silence somebody unless you know that you're threatened by their message, right? Because if you have a better idea than they do, you're not. You'd let them speak, right? It's just like, I'm not trying to shut down feminists, for example. I'm not trying to shut them down or quiet them or have their channels banned or anything, or have them, you know, anything like that. I want them to speak so they could show everybody like how ridiculous their ideas are. Whereas I believe in what I say, right? I put my ideas out there and let the best ideas win. I don't need to try to threaten them and shut them down and quiet them, because I know my ideas are better, right? And they're based on reality. They're based on facts. They're based on statistics, where theirs are not. That's why they try to shut down guys like me. That's why they try to quiet guys in the red pill community, right? Because they are afraid of the message getting out, because they can't compete in the marketplace of ideas. But with that said, guys, I'm just gonna wrap this up here because it's kind of getting late here. But as always, drop your comments below. Let me know what you think of what happened to Trump today and the attempt, and how you feel about it. Do you think there will be a third time? Like, you know, unfortunately, and like I'm thinking there might be if he continues, because there are a lot of these crazies out there who are listening to the media and buying into this rhetoric, you know, all of this propaganda that, like, oh, he's the devil and he's blah, blah, blah. Very sad, very sad, very sad. But drop your comments below. Let me know what you think of this, and anything you want to share. Be respectful. Drop them below, and I'll see you there in my comments.